In the beginning of the movie, Jennifer Hills, a writer, has rented a lonely house in the Deep South so she can finish her book. She stops at a shop on the way to get the keys to the cabin she'll stay in. Earl, who owns the house, gives her the keys and tells her how to get there. The man says it's hard to get to the house, but the view and quiet are great. But as she went through the country, the girl became more and more confused. Then, she stops at a gas station to fill up, where she sees 3 workers standing around. They are Andy, Stanley, and Johnny. Andy, Stanley, and Johnny all tried to pick her up, but this lady is all business, so they failed. Instead, she tells him where she's going and asks him to tell her exactly how much her house weighs, which is something we should never do. Taking note of how pretty the girl is, Johnny tries to get with Jennifer, but she makes him spill a bucket of fluid, which makes his friends Andy and Stanley laugh at him. Johnny looks embarrassed as Jennifer drives away. After a long stretch of road, Jennifer gets to the house that will be her home for the next few months. It's not creepy at all. She puts away her things right away and starts writing right. The next day, Jennifer is taking it easy by the lake when she hears sounds coming from the woods. She doesn't pay them much mind because she thinks they're just crows. She keeps writing until she hears noises coming from the shed, which makes her curious. She goes to the shed to see what's going on, but all she finds there are tools and jars that spell out the word poison. But our girl doesn't move. Jennifer goes back to the cabin, and not long after, she spills wine on her shirt, which makes her have to wash it in the sink. She doesn't know it, but someone is taking a film of her half naked. The next morning, she goes for a run and finds an empty house. For some reason, she decides to go inside and look around. She keeps going around her, though, because she doesn't find anything interesting inside. Then she goes back to her house. She wants to take a bath, but she can't. She finds that the water in the sink is brown and that the toilet is backed up. Jennifer then calls Matthew, a plumber, to tell him what's wrong. As if that wasn't bad enough, she drops her phone in the toilet and has to use a hair dryer to dry it. Matthew, the plumber, then comes to fix the bathroom. It turns out that he has trouble speaking and an intellectual disability, so Jennifer gives him a kiss out of the blue. Andy, Stanley, and Johnny hang out in the woods. While Stanley records them, Andy, Stanley, and Johnny kill fish for fun. When Matthew leaves his house, he goes fishing with 3 guys who turn out to be his friends. Then, Matthew tells Johnny that Jennifer kissed him, but Johnny doesn't believe him. So Stanley makes sure it's real, because this kid just can't. Strange enough, Johnny gets angry when Stanley shows them the video he took of Jennifer last night. He starts by saying that girls like Jennifer would love to be shown a good time and hints that he's going to do something. Later that night, Jennifer still hears strange noises around the house, and they make her feel more uncomfortable. Jennifer hears a knock on her door and opens it to see a dead bird. The girl walks around the house to see if anyone is outside, but she doesn't find anyone. But when she goes back to her PC, she is surprised to find a picture of Johnny and his friends. Once she starts to get scared, Johnny and his friends under the room start making fun of her, and Andy starts to tease her. Johnny drags Matthew into the room while Stanley is there with a handy cam, even though it's clear that Matthew doesn't agree with any of this. Jennifer tries to tell them that her boyfriend is coming because she is scared. That doesn't stop the men, though. They start to bother her and make fun of what she writes. They also start throwing lit matches at her. Johnny forces her to drink, and she does it because she's afraid. In the meantime, Matthew hides in the corner because he doesn't have the courage to stand up for her. When Johnny asks her to show him her teeth, the scene gets even more scary. At first, this makes her confused, but when he starts to scare her with a baseball bat, she finally does what he asked. Then he takes out a gun and puts it in her mouth. Kiss, oh no. When the boys are laughing about it, he walks up to Jennifer, but this time she grabs the bottle and smashes it against his knee. This gives her the chance to grab a pepper spray and use it on Stanley as she runs outside. It lets her run into the woods and get away from the danger. When she runs through the trees, she sees the town police and the owner of the house crying. She tells them everything about the attack she just had and begs them to help her. The sheriff then tells Earl to go back and offers to go back to the cabin with her to figure out what's going on. When they get there, they find that the cabin is empty, so the sheriff starts his search. But when the sheriff sees a weed joint and a broken beer bottle, he starts to judge her. He says she isn't telling the truth about what happened, and she has no right to lie about a man she has known since they were kids. Next, the sheriff does a body search, which turns out to be just an excuse for him to touch her. Johnny and his friends, who have just come back, walk in and stop what they're doing. The sheriff then starts beating her up while the other men watch. Yes, when she tries to fight back, Johnny puts her in a chokehold and rips her pants off while causing Matthew to take off his clothes. At first, Matthew says no, but out of fear, he gives in and pulls down his pants. The guys then hold her down and tell Matthew to force himself on Jennifer until he is happy. While Stanley records the whole thing, the crazy sheriff even has the nerve to take a call from his little boy in the middle of it. After that, Matthew throws up, and later, Jennifer uses what power she still has to run into the woods. As she goes deeper into the woods, she runs into the group again, which means she will have to go through more hardships. Then Andy pulls Jennifer over to a puddle and dips her head in it a few times. As she lay on the ground, the sheriff took off his pants and forced himself on her, despite her cries for help. Next, each of the guys gets a turn with Jennifer while Stanley's camera keeps running. When Jennifer wakes up, she finds that she is covered in dirt. She gets up and walks toward a bridge over a river. We can see that the guys are just following her around, and the sheriff is about to shoot her to save himself, but she jumps into the water and drowns right away. They keep looking for her to come up, but she never does. So they walk along the river in hopes that her body would turn up, but turned up empty-handed. This scares the sheriff, so he tells the boys to get rid of her car and everything she had in the house, as well as to burn the tape. Stanley made a record. After a busy day, the sheriff goes home to his wife and daughter, who are happy to see him. He goes home and acts like nothing happened, as if he doesn't feel bad about what he did. The next day, the sheriff gives the cabin's owner the keys and just says that Jennifer has gone. And Jennifer was a drinker who caused trouble. In the days that follow, the boys carry on as if nothing had happened. While Matthew is sitting alone in the woods and feeling bad about what he did, he imagines seeing Jennifer's ghost. A month later, Earl, the owner of the house, calls the police to tell him that someone named Barbara wants to know where Jennifer is because she hasn't been seen in a month. Stanley runs to his friends in a panic, saying that someone stole his handy cam. He tells them that the camcorder has a recording of what they did to Jennifer and that he never burned the tape, even though he was told to. This makes Johnny angry and he starts beating Stanley up, but Andy stops him. That night, Johnny is all by himself and watching TV. When he hears a bang on his door, he opens it to find a dead bird. He runs away, but when he gets back, he hears another thud at his door. After the next bang, he grabs his gun and runs outside, where he finds one of Jennifer's shoes on his steps. He shoots wildly at nothing and runs across the yard to where the trees are moving, but he doesn't find anything. The next day, when the sheriff comes home, he finds that someone has sent his wife a tape. It is the tape with Jennifer's rape on it. This sends him into a tailspin and makes him want to go to Johnny's house. There, the angry sheriff tackles the three of them. Stanley, who thinks he is playing a joke on the sheriff, is especially surprised. Johnny thinks that Matthew is behind all of this because he can't find Matthew anywhere. In the afternoon, as Earl and the sheriff sit down to rest, the sheriff goes hunting with Earl. You just enjoy it. And funerals. He shoots the poor old man dead out of the blue. Earl is a possible suspect in the crime because he saw the sheriff bring Jennifer back to the cabin with him. In the meantime, Matthew wakes up in the abandoned house and is filled with guilt. Jennifer is glad to be living as she sits on the couch. He walks up to her and starts crying while telling her he's sorry, but that's not good enough. She gets a rope and starts to choke him. On the same day, Stanley and Andy go into the trees to look for Matthew. They hear a weak sound of music, which leads them to the same abandoned house Jennifer found at the beginning of the movie. From the way it looks like someone has been living there. When Stanley is out by himself, he is shocked to see Jennifer. As he moves toward her, he steps on a bear trap and screams in pain. Andy goes to help him, but Jennifer hits him in the head and knocks him out. When Stanley wakes up later, he finds that he is tied to a tree stump. Jennifer spends time with by putting him on film and making him eat a dead rat. After that, she sticks hooks through his eyelashes and ties them to the stump while she records him. Jennifer takes the insides of a fish and rubs them all over Stanley's face. The smell of the fish guts brings a lot of crows to the area. After a while, the birds eat his eyes and he bleeds to death. Andy wakes up in the middle of all this and finds himself tied to some boards over a bathroom. The water keeps getting higher in the tub. Just as Jennifer walks in to check on him, she starts frequently putting Andy's head in the water, even though he asks her to let him go. She puts something sour into the wound, make it more interesting for her. She then pulls out the plank from under him, leaving him no choice but to hold his own weight or drown. When he could no longer hold himself up, he kept falling into the acidic water until he died. Next, Jennifer goes to see Johnny at the gas station and, like his other friends, knocks him out with a speed wrench. Johnny wakes up tied down and naked, with a horse bit pulling his hair. Jennifer pulls his heart out of the wedding and starts pulling out his teeth. This makes him understand he was wrong and makes him pee himself out of fear. After that, she takes off the wedding dress and puts a gun in his mouth, but he is still as proud as ever. He still laughs, at least until she gets out a pair of shears and chops his pee-pee into small pieces before putting it in his mouth. Johnny, of course, bleeds to death, and yes, this scene is as horrible as you might think. On the other side of town, the sheriff's daughter calls and tells him that her new teacher is coming to see her. When she gives the phone to that teacher, it turns out to be the best teacher he could find for his daughter, our lovely Jennifer. She tells the sheriff her name with confidence, which of course scares him, out of worry for the safety of his family. When the sheriff gets home, his daughter has already left because Jennifer asked her to hang out with her. He looks for her right away at a playground that is empty with his daughter. Still can't see it, but when he gets back into his car, Jennifer is waiting for him. When he wakes up, he's in the cabin with a shotgun shoved up his backside. Then Jennifer comes in and starts talking about how nice his daughter is and how he could let a woman get beat up to hurt him badly. Jennifer starts to push the barrel in further. After that, she ties a string around the trigger and looks across the room to see Matthew sitting there asleep. She ties the other end of the string to Matthew's wrist so that if he moves his arm, he will pull the trigger. The sheriff begs to be let go. As soon as Jennifer leaves, Matthew wakes up and starts to move. Before the sheriff could warn him, Sheriff Matthew, the story is over when the gun is pulled and the two people are killed.